what's going on? This is the second most, or the first most voted class that they wanted to look at over at preachgaming.com for the beta guys. It's the Frost Deathknight. There's been a huge outpour from the crowd, from the people saying, DKs just have so much downtime, Preacher. Am I doing something wrong, or what the hell is happening? So we're going to look at it today and see the changes to the Frost DK and see how it performs in a run. I will point out that when we get into some gameplay, is the Professions tab and all that kind of stuff is completely broken now in the test realms. I'll show you. If we go into Professions, look, you can't even open the windows anymore. They're just completely balls. So this character doesn't have any gems or anything like that. He just has absolutely jack all. He really is running on empty. I would love to have transferred over my entirely uber geared DK, but my account is still broken by Blizzard. So fair play to them. I'm just going to rock on the Frost DK. I know how to play inside out, so we should have some good fun on this one. Let's look at the specializations of the Frost DK. Frost DKs, I will tell you now, haven't actually changed that much. In fact, they were pretty happy with where Frost DKs were in terms of gameplay. They haven't really changed too much at all. So we're still going to get Frost Strike. We're still going to get Howling Blast. It now affects the target with Frost Fever. We've no need to do a Glyph for that. Obliterate is still there, and Pillar of Frost is still there as our big DPS cooldown. Still costing 1 Frost, still on a 1 minute cooldown. All good. Everything's still the same there. It's going to be a relatively brief video. I just wanted to go over the talents mainly. The first tier that we get level 56, of course, because DK start at level 55. Thank you for reminding me of that on the other DK videos. Rolling Blood, your Blood Boil ability now also triggers Pestilence. We don't really like Blood Boiling as a Frost DK. No, go away, Rolling Blood. Go away, go away, go away. There's also Plague Leech. You draw off the infection from an enemy, consuming your Blood Plague and Frost Fever diseases on the target to activate a random fully depleted rune as a death rune. That just sounds so stupid. I'm struggling to find when that's like an emergency situation. You're going to need that as far as I'm concerned. For DPS, you're not sucking the diseases off your target. What a joke. Pretty crappy talent all in. I went with Unholy Blight again. As you know, we infect everything with Frost Fever with our Howling Blast. Boom! There you go. Frost Fever all around. Everybody gets to play. What we did have to do in the past, if we were doing large, consistent AoE, we still wanted Blood Plague up, because Blood Plague does do a lot of damage if you've got a ton of mobs and you want to start spreading that out. That's all very well and good. What we didn't like was using a Blood Rune, or a Death Rune in this case, to spread that Pestilence around. So what we can do now is actually just mix in Unholy Blight to make sure that happens. And I thought that was pretty cool. So you can just activate Unholy Blight, everything gets diseased. You've seen this before. We used it on our Unholy DK. I personally think this is a great way of spreading damage out. I love Unholy Blight. I think it's a really, really good change. You can see you've just infected absolutely everything in the universe with diseases. All good. So I rocked the Unholy Blight. At level 57, you're going to pick up some sort of way of doing a defensive cooldown. Either Leechborn, draw upon Unholy Energy to become an undead for 10 seconds. While undead, you're immune to Charm, Fear, and Sleep. All good. The PvPers love it. I went with Anti-Magic Zone for a PvE environment because I love my Anti-Magic Zone. I always want Anti-Magic Zone. So cool. Just a nice, helpful raid utility. The other one is Purgatory. An Unholy Pact grants you the ability to fight on through damage that would kill mere mortals. When you would sustain fatal damage, you instead are wrapped in a Shroud of Purgatory, absorbing incoming healing equal to the amount of damage prevented. It lasts 3 seconds. If any healing absorption remains when Shroud of Purgatory expires, you die. Otherwise, you survive. My issue with this one is, it sounds on the face of it like it's something along the lines of... And my mind's gone completely blank. Fire Mages have it. Cauterize. Cauterize for the Fire Mages. But the Fire Mages get a dot that can be reasonably easily out-healed, depending on how much damage they take. So you're really going to have to tell the healers if you're going to soak something that would normally kill somebody, such as Warlord Zonos with Bouncing the Orb. We tend to have Fire Mages and Shadow Priests soaking that bad boy for us. But should you be asked to do that as a DK using Purgatory, you're going to have to tell them, look, you've got 3 seconds to out-heal all this damage that would have otherwise killed me, or I'm just going to drop dead on the floor. It's not like a sustained dot. I think 3 seconds is possibly a bit too short. I would have liked a little bit longer with Purgatory. At level 58, we get some sort of slow or movement speed changing. Now, this has changed since last time I did this for the Unholy DKs. You now passively move 10% faster if you take Death's Advance. I love this. Movement speed increasing effects are happy, happy days. They are really great for DPS. We can move faster between targets. We don't like moving, especially as a melee DPS. We need to be in melee range all the time. A passive 10% movement speed, I am happy with. That is cool. If we use it, we actually just go on a sprint. You ready? Natural arc movement speed, feeling glorious, and off we go like an absolute ton of bricks. Come out, here comes the DK. I like Death's Advance, I think that looks pretty cool. Chill Blades, of course, situational. Should a Frost DK be required to kite, as we have seen in the past, kiting a ton of mobs, then we will be picking up Chill Blades. And then you've got Asphyxiate, which alters your Strangulate to a nice big Darth Vader style sun. We stole this from Star Wars: The Old Republic, but don't tell anybody. Yeah, you've got the old Force choke there. We all know what it is. You can call it whatever you want, Blizzard. We know what it is. We're not stupid. Level 60, you get some sort of healing abilities, such as Death Pact. Death Pact is the same as it is in Kata. You can sacrifice the healing of your pet and get some health back. It's based on percentages, so if you take 50% of your pet's HP, it's not you gaining that exact HP, you just gain 50% of your life back. Pretty cool. This time I wanted to try Death Siphon. You deal Shadow Frost damage to an enemy, healing the Deathknight for 100% of the damage dealt. I like the idea of that. If we take a really big hit, then we can possibly just fire back a nice 11k smash in the face. So if we do need to heal ourselves, we're doing some damage at the same time. Maybe it's not as weak as Deathstrike. That's what I was thinking. Is it as weak as Deathstrike? Deathstrike's going to go and do about 13k crit there. Oh, calm down, DK. Stop shredding that mob up. And this is going to hit for round about the same, but heal us for probably a little bit more. And it's questionable, but I wanted to try it out. Conversion is still a talent I just dislike. It costs 10 runic power plus 10 per second and heals you for 3% of your maximum health while sucking the DPS life out of your character. I still don't like conversion. I just think it's a poor design. Really don't like it. At level 75, we get a way of getting our runes back. Now, this is one you guys have asked for a lot, is can we see what Runic Corruption looks like on a Frost DK? If you're not sure what either of these do, you've got Blood Tap, which has been changed since we did the Unholy DK. It now stacks up to 12 charges. Each damaging Death Coil or Frost Strike or Rune Strike generates 2 blood charges up to 12. Blood Tap consumes 5 charges to activate a random fully depleted rune as a death rune. The Mathematicians I have read up on it are saying this could be good, but we'll just have to see at level 90, which nobody can do yet. It could be good. It could be the outright winner, especially in the right hands, and making sure we don't overcap and waste blood taps, potential blood taps. It could be really good. Runic Empowerment is what the Frost DKs will currently be aware of. When you land a Frost Strike, you have a 45% chance of generating a random rune. We do Frost Strike a lot, and it was generally pretty good for the Frost DKs. It's near 50%, so we generally did get a steady supply of runes back from that, but we still suffered from downtime when it didn't proc, and that was always the danger. But this is the one that Unholy DKs have on live, and now we have access to it, is we now have a 45% chance every time we Frost Strike to literally start regenerating all our runes so much faster. And Frost DKs love this talent and love the idea of having that on Cataclysm. We were like, oh, I wish I had Runic Corruption. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out in an instance, to see if it's good stuff. The level 90 talents are still pretty crappy in terms of DPSing, unfortunately. Shadowy Tendrils, the AoE Snare Death Grip sort of effect that comes from Gorfine's Grasp. We get Remorseless Winter, which surrounds the DK with a swirling tempest of frigid air, chilling enemies and slowing them down. Boring. It probably looks absolutely awesome, don't get me wrong. It probably looks fantastic, but nah, for PvE, I want some more damage, man. Give me something cool. You can't give DK's Paladins Holy Prism and expect us to be happy with Remorseless Winter. Ain't happening, Blizz. It ain't happening. And then we get Desecrated Ground. It corrupts the ground beneath the DK, and it no longer does damage. It was the only ability that had some sort of damage component, but they removed it. So now it's just like a CC prevention ability. Yeah, okay, whatever. Very disappointing in the level 90 talents. I'll briefly look at the Glyphs for you. Glyph of AMS causes your anti-magic shell to absorb all incoming magical damage up to the absorption limit, instead of just reducing it by a percentage. We likes. I'm going to look at the DPS-based ones. Death and Decay also reduces movement speed. I can see that being nerfed. It was nerfed when it was first implemented in Wrath of the Lich King. That's what Death and Decay's glyph used to do. And they nerfed it for arena reasons. So we'll see if that actually stays in the game. I'm not thinking it will. Glyph of Enduring Infection. Your diseases are undispellable, but their damage dealt is reduced by 30%. Boring for PvE. Your Icy Touch dispels a magical target. Could be good, situational at best. The old one that increases the cost of Mind Freeze should you miss with it. Reduces the cooldown, increases its runic power cost. Runic power, it's free. It's a 15-second cooldown and it's free. I loved, one of the best things about my Frost DK is that my interrupt was just free. I loved that compared to Unholy. It was never a DPS loss for me to interrupt, and I was happy to volunteer. I'm not going to go ahead and add a cost to it. I'm sorry, Blizz, I'm not. Your Outbreak spell no longer has a cooldown but costs 40 runic power. Wow, Blizz, what? Why are you sucking the DPS out of that class? Pillar of Frost is the same as it is with the Glyph on Kata. You don't get CC'd if you've got Pillar of Frost on you. Good, good, good. And absolutely nothing that benefits us realistically for our Frost DK. I'll take AMS purely out of lack of choice. Blizzard, please look at these Glyphs. They're all really shit, unfortunately. Glyph of Helm of Winter, you get the Snowflake. You've seen that one before. I love this. Glyph of Death Grip no longer taunts the target. That is always 100% living in my spellbook. Such a good glyph. The rest of the glyphs are pretty boring, unfortunately. So there you go, guys. I'm going to go a quick look at the spells, but honestly, nothing has realistically changed. Everything still works pretty much the same. Oh, there's Unholy Blight there, but that's a talent we've picked up and spoke about. And you literally have 3 pages of talents, and most of them are made up by stuff you've picked up or seen before. Really sort of the same. Frosty Case haven't changed a great deal at all, so not much I can say about it at all, guys. You're into the passive abilities really, really quickly. By page 4, you're just summing up with the passive stuff. So that's what it is. I'm going to jump into the gameplay and see what the downtime's like. I hope it's not as bad as we suspect, but maybe it is. Don't know. Let's jump in and find out. I've actually just decided to tack this onto the end of the Frost DK video. It was very, very interesting. Is after I filmed the talents overview and all that stuff, and we were hoping that the downtime issue wasn't as bad as we thought it was, is I just practiced a little bit on the test dummies just to see what the feel of it's like. And the downtime of Frost was absolutely horrendous. I mean, really bad. Sort of 6, 7, even 8 seconds sometimes, just waiting for something to do. We had no runic power, we had no runes, they were slowly regenerating up. A really weird, weird feeling. So I figured, what the hell? It was the first pre-made I've had to do where I went and reforged him properly. I went down to the reforger, I went for full haste, as we should be. And then I jumped into a dungeon, and that's the dungeon I'm showing you in the back, which was Stormstout Brewery. Now, after the first pack, it was pretty obvious, and you'll see me switch, as I actually changed immediately to Frost Presence. Unholy Presence just had so much downtime, it was physically impossible to enjoy what I was doing. Really, really uncomfortable and unfeeling, and yes, it's a reasonable gear character of 378. And one can argue that, yes, he's not gemmed, but the majority of those gems are going to be strength, not haste, affecting that sort of play. So we reforged him heavily towards haste. He wasn't enchanted as well, so I'll bear that in mind that maybe this is something I need to do in the future. But I played through the first pack and it instantly felt wrong, it felt awkward, it felt like I was actually playing something that wasn't working. One of the most noticeable aspects of this was actually the free Howling Blast you get from your Rhyme proc, where if you do an Obliterate you have a chance for a free Howling Blast. No longer generates runic power, and that was so obviously felt while DPSing, because you could get a couple of procs of Howling Blast, you fire them off, and just be no better off in terms of resources. I think that was essentially the crux of what was missing, is that extra runic power from those Howling Blasts is just not there anymore. So I changed to Frost Presence, hoping, well, now my abilities will give me raw runic power. I have a longer global cooldown to which to use my abilities. The same thing still happened. We just had outrageous lengths waiting for things to happen. And about halfway through the run, I just felt like I had nothing more to say. And I don't like putting content out for the sake of content. Just to go, oh, this is amazing and crap. It just felt terrible, unfortunately. So I've tacked on a little bit of gameplay at the end here, because it was only a short talent overview. But at the moment, Deathknights and Frost, Unholy did not suffer as bad as this, but Frost feels awful. In fact, the only reasonable way of playing the spec was actually the Master Frost spec. If you're not sure what that is, that's just basically spamming Howling Blast. Really, that was the only way it felt like I had something to do every global cooldown. And it's less DPS, but I had something to do. I was playing a less DPS rotation and priority system, purely based on the fact that if I played it normally, I had absolutely nothing to do for consistently long periods. And I'm trying to explain it as best I can, is you would wait 6 to 7 seconds for your runes to come back, fire off an Obliterate, maybe even get a Frost Strike off from that. and then just be waiting another 6 or 7 seconds while your runes regenerated for another Obliterate. That's how the spec was feeling. So I just felt like not really playing it anymore, straight up, until they do something about it. I'm going to try and get my Frost DK copied over, but my account on my personal beta account is completely screwed just now. So there you go, guys. I've just put a little 3 minutes in there just to show you how daft it was with tanks dying and stuff like that. And that wasn't even the issue. I wasn't bothered about the fact that I had a poor group. It was more the fact that the class just had nothing going for it whatsoever. It makes me really sad, as I raided on Cataclysm on the Frost DK for the majority of this expansion. And it's just so dull and boring, and it needs a lot of work. There you go, guys. That's the Frost DK. I'm sorry to go out on a sour note. It's not like me at all, but I'm really disappointed. Very disappointed in what Blizzard has done with it. So, unfortunately, if they have changed something and I spot something in the patch notes, or if you guys see something and want to make me aware of any fixes, do so, and I will re-look at the Frost DK, and hopefully it'll be much better than the abomination that I've actually just played. And it's just devastating. Absolutely devastating for anybody who's been a long-time Frost DK. It felt like I was doing something incredibly wrong. And after raiding on a Frost DK for the past year or so, I don't think I was. It's possible I was. Possibly. But I don't think I was. And it just felt horrendous. So there you go, guys. There's a little bit of Frost gameplay footage. There you go. See you later.